It's important that we get captaincy right for the double game week. We get twice the value because there are 2 fixtures. This is a bigger opportunity than usual. That's because Haaland usually has almost 200% effective ownership. We're going to utilise data analysis to figure out the best captain. You can also use it to help you make your transfers as well. Let's start by building the shortlist. First up is Mount, who has a difficult fixture against City at home, but then he faces Fulham away, which isn't too bad from an attacking perspective. Next up is his Chelsea teammate Sterling, who of course has the same fixtures. It is only Chelsea and Fulham who have a double game week, and the last player is from Fulham, it's Mitrovic. He faces Leicester away, which is a decent fixture from an attacking perspective. Then he's got Chelsea at home, which is a bit more difficult. It's not easy to work out who's got the easier fixtures, so we'll take a look at the opposition stats combined later on in the video. It's worth noting that Mount and Sterling are midfielders, so they get an extra point per goal scored, and a clean sheet point potential as well. No other double game week players or players with a single fixture competed with the top 3 on this shortlist, especially on projected data. Now let's take a look at the non-penalty stats per 90 minutes for this season. Don't forget that Mitrovic gets 1 less point per non-penalty goal and non-penalty XG. Even with that factored in, he's got the most non-penalty return points per 90 minutes. He's joint top on the expected numbers, which are actually better at projecting the future return points than the actual return points themselves. In all fairness, Mitrovic is more clinical than Sterling, and you can see that on the screen where he's overperformed his underlying stats. The non-penalty stats is also the dedicated penalty taker for Fulham, whilst Mount and Sterling aren't on penalty duties for Chelsea because that's Jorginho's role. When it comes to free kicks and corners, Mount's got the advantage. He's on direct free kicks, indirect free kicks and corners. Sterling occasionally takes the odd corner or indirect free kick, and the same applies to Mitrovic for direct free kicks. As for the probability, this is based on the assumption that each player plays 180 minutes. We'll review the expected minutes later on in the video. Mitrovic has got the highest anytime goal scorer odds with 61%, Sterling trails by 20%, and Mount trails by 25%. The anytime assist odds are in reverse order. Mount's got the highest probability with 35%, Sterling's only 2% behind, Mitrovic is only 8% behind. The latter has the best chance of an attacking return if all 3 players play the full matches. He's comfortably ahead of Sterling by 12% and 14% ahead of Mount. It's beneficial that his odds are weighted heavily on goals. Yes, Sterling and Mount get an extra point per goal scored, but Mitrovic still wins on the weighted odds. Moving on to the points projections, Mitrovic has got the highest overall on Fantasy Football Fix with 8.1. He's also got the joint highest on Fantasy Football Scouts with 4.9, where he's level with Sterling. Fulham's Talisman still has the best points projections overall with an average of 6.5. Sterling's average is 5, and Mount is actually ahead of him on 5.5. By comparing the opposition's defence, we can see with the combined data that Mitrovic has actually got the easier fixtures. The average of Leicester and Chelsea is 1.4 expected goals conceded per 90 minutes and 1.5 goals conceded. As for City and Fulham combined, they're 0.2 behind on both of those metrics. Obviously, with City having the best defence in the league, they are carrying Fulham on that one. As for the combined probability of both opponents obtaining a clean sheet, it's actually Leicester and Chelsea that are ahead on 8%. City and Fulham combined trail by just 2%. The reason for this is more than likely because Chelsea's attack is better than Fulham's. Yeah, they've got Mitrovic, but who else have they got with that threat? Chelsea offer more going forward. Before we draw up a conclusion, let's carry out a quick risk assessment. Prior to the first set of double game week 19 fixtures, Mount and Sterling have had 4 days rest. Mitrovic has had just enough on 3. Mount and Sterling played just over 70 minutes in their last match. I've got no concerns over their fitness. Mitrovic should still be okay even though he played 90 minutes. The expected minutes are out of a possible 180 this game week due to there being 2 fixtures. Something that needs to be considered is that if Mitrovic gets a yellow card in the first match, he will miss the second match. I've calculated the probability of him receiving the yellow card in the first match. It's roughly 15 to 20%. What I did was I got the market odds and I stripped away the bookmaker's profit margin. The expected minutes actually have that factored in. He's got 83 in the first match and 65 in the second match. It is normal to have slightly lower expected minutes in the second match anyway, just not this much lower. It's reassuring that he's still ahead of Sterling on the expected minutes because of the rotation risk, and he's only 8 minutes behind Mount as well. Worst case scenario is that he gets a yellow card in the first match, he'll lose a point there, then he'll only play a maximum of 90 minutes. But don't forget there's an 80 to 85% chance that he won't receive a yellow card in the first match, and if he plays both matches, he has a much higher ceiling than the other 2 players. So with that information in mind, I believe the best captain for double game week 19 is Mitrovic. Sterling takes second place because he's got a higher ceiling than Mount. Thanks for watching, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss any of these videos.